Hi folks, how are all of you? As always, a pleasure to connect with you and speak on contemporary topics to do with life and careers. And if that is something which is of interest, you probably should consider liking and subscribing to this channel. A very interesting and probably I would say a very grave topic to be discussed. Hundreds and hundreds of graduate engineers who were hired by Infosys have been sacked in the guise of them not qualifying internal tests in Infosys. And without any remorse, Infosys probably has chucked all of them out from their Mysuru campus in the late hours of a particular day. They were not allowed or they were not given enough time to probably handle things on the personal front. They were not probably given a grace time to vacate the places of stay which were allotted to them by Infosys. And it looks like even female candidates who were thrown out were literally in tears, pleading for time for a day or two, which was Infosys management in one of their what they call as a prestigious Mysuru campuses. What is a stark contrast is the kind of hypocrisy that companies like Infosys have displayed in handling a situation. Typically, you have the promoter of the company, N.R. Narayana Murthy, constantly going around and giving platitudes about integrity, about value systems, etc. But when it comes to their own employees or when it comes to their own future, I think they choose to probably throw out 400 or 700 engineers rather very unceremonious way, despite the fact that there were probably also many mistakes on the part of Infosys. One of the mistakes is that these candidates were offered jobs maybe much earlier. I think they were offered, and but the gap between their offer date and the joining date was about a year and a half, which is the case with many of these IT services companies. I think that is how the IT services model works. I think they create a huge bench of people in anticipation of work in the client site, and because they really can't plan in a very precise way as to how many people have to be deployed in the future in a client's place. They randomly go to campuses, hire people and put them on bench, or probably delay giving offer letters and things like that. So essentially, these people were hired in the company. I mean, these people whom we are talking about, 400 or 700, the number is not very sure, but all these people have been hired almost, I think, in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even 2024. And I think they were hired from the campus in 2023, the end of academic year 2023, and they were offered immediately, but the date of joining was not given to them, which again is the case with most of these IT services companies. They go when they hype the campus hiring program in a very big way, because that also the stock market wants statements like we are hiring so many thousands and thousands of people through the campuses across the country. That drives the stock indices up. So number of factors. So but the stock market really doesn't know whether these candidates are given offer letters instantly or not, because campus interviews are done and these people are given what is called as a letter of intent. I think that is something that is a detail which many of us miss, because any company which goes to the campus, or at least a majority of the companies, do not issue offer letters in the campus. What they issue in the campus is just a letter of intent. So by no stretch of imagination is the company under any legal binding to honor the offer. That is I think a very big mistake which most of us do in terms of perception, and sadly even the media doesn't look at finer details in terms of what is the difference between a letter of intent and an offer letter. A letter of intent is, I'm telling you I have an intention to hire you in the future. That is what I'm telling you. It is not, I'm under no compulsion to give an offer to you, so I can come up with any vague reason subsequently and probably resign the letter of intent and say no, we will not offer you. This again is a very carefully used ploy by these IT service companies to make sure that they really can go back on hiring hundreds and hundreds of people in case the market doesn't demand so many people. Because as I said, they work on this model where they have to deploy people in client sites, and these client orders are mostly in the pipeline. They are not instant orders. So if they are probably bidding for 2-3 clients in the next 1 or 2 years, they will probably issue about a lakh offer letters in the 1 lakh letters of intent in the campus this year, and put most of the people in bench. Maybe half of them will be on a bench, made to wait for a year, 2 years, until the client gives a firm order for them to deploy the people. So that is the business model, which again is a standard business model with Indian IT services companies, because most of these are probably what I would classically call is plain vanilla services companies. But the saddest part in this case is that most of these bright graduates are now literally on the roads without any job, and they in terms of the employment, I think they probably have been in employment only for about 6 months or less than 6 months, meaning October 2024 was when these people have joined Infosys, and from October 24 till now, I think these 3-4 months, Infosys has only been so-called training them and giving them a series of tests. And some people say, I think many people who didn't qualify were given a couple of retests, and despite those retests, these people couldn't qualify, and so Infosys had no other option to probably sack these people. But as I said, Infosys clearly has a flawed business projection. At least with this set of people, they for sure would have lost a couple of big client orders, and because they've lost a couple of big client orders, they would probably I think the management, or probably the line managers or hiring managers would be wondering what to do with so many people, and they thought, okay, we will probably find some excuse and fire them. So these tests again are not standard tests. Maybe some of these tests can be easier. If they really want 600 people to pass, they'll keep these tests easier. But if they really decide that the 600 people or 700 people are not required, obviously it's a question of making the question papers extremely tough, so that they'll make sure that none of them clear this. So all these are as possible, and as I said earlier, the biggest joke these companies of this kind is that I think their chairman emeritus and top management I think give so much of platitude about integrity, about values, about things like that, and also have the audacity to talk about 70 or 80 hours of work from every employee and things like that. But what is very, very important here is, could the candidates have foreseen the situation? Could these employees have foreseen the situation? And what about their interests? Have they really lost? When you look at it, at stake is a career. I think in these 600 people or 400 people, there'll be one set of people who would have probably got hired somewhere else before they joined Infosys, because Infosys clearly didn't give them a letter of intent, and once Infosys didn't revert to them, some of these candidates would have thought, okay, we'll join some small company, and the moment Infosys offer letter or joining date comes, we'll move to that company. So in that sense, one chunk of candidates would not have wasted time. They probably would have kept them occupied, I think picked up some new skills, picked up some experience, and probably concealed that from Infosys, because Infosys might not agree to people being employed elsewhere until their offer letter is given or the date of joining is given. That is one story. And another story, there will be another bunch of people who are very, very thrilled about brand Infosys, because end of the day, I think like it or not, we might have issues with Infosys, but Infosys as a brand in the IT services space has some amount of aspirational value for a large mass of graduates, engineering graduates in this country. So another set of while one set of candidates would have already been employed and would have just jumped to the Infosys once the date of joining came, there would have been another set of candidates who really have wasted so much of time. Maybe they're just whiling away their time waiting for Infosys to give them a joining date, and once Infosys gave them a joining date, which in this case is October 2024, they have to join Infosys, and bang, in 4 months time they probably are again without an employment. So it also speaks volumes, or it will reflect very, very badly on their curriculum vitae. The prospective hiring managers will not be willing to understand things in the same perspective in which you and me look at it. So in that sense, they probably have put them in a very, very piquant situation that they really have to struggle to get employment again. So in any case, while those candidates who got hired, who got placed themselves in smaller companies until they join Infosys, probably they are better off than people who just waited for brand Infosys to place them. So some lessons in this for candidates is, I think, number one is that you have to be extremely careful with these tests, and also have your ear on the ground. When I say you have your ear on the ground, I think you constantly keep engaged yourself, speaking to seniors in the organization, people who know the business projections, who know what is happening, and in case things are very, very dicey, that some business projection or client addition is not happening, I would say you'd rather not join Infosys than join Infosys and probably leave in 4-5 months time. Again, this probably this is how things will pan out in the future, because as I said, things like artificial intelligence and things like that are going to have a big hit in the Infosys kind of business models in the coming years. Infosys organizations like Infosys who have this people-driven services model will suffer a lot, and they probably have their business diluted. So in that sense, any company which hires like Infosys, puts people on the bench and delays offer letters, is always vulnerable to this kind of eventuality. So what has happened today in Infosys could happen in any other organization, and this is what many of our young graduates would think. So in case your offer letter is, in case your date of joining is delayed inordinately, I think you really have to maybe even consider ditching this particular brand and look at some smaller employer who will probably hire you for a decent salary and stay with them for a couple of years, and then look at a better change rather than getting stuck with organizations like Infosys. Again, it might be very, very difficult or not palatable to people who think that, okay, my first job is going to be a huge brand by Infosys. Yes, but what is the point if you join such a brand and you're out of the job in no time, maybe 3-4 months time, for no mistake of yours. I'm again saying somewhere it is my conviction that these tests are only applied to throw people out of the organization. The real reason would be that projected business of Infosys in terms of client acquisitions or the client manpower deployment need was not there, and which is precisely the reason why people have been thrown out in these large numbers. Otherwise, if it is really a case where people haven't performed well, or people haven't behaved well in terms of discipline issues and things like that, on 100, maybe 10 or 15 people might be asked to go, and there is no way that 600, 700 people are asked to go in one shot in the thick of a particular evening in a very, very maverick way. So huge lessons for youngsters and experienced people in such things. First thing is, in case your date of joining with an organization gets inordinately delayed, I think you need to be extremely alert. Do some research in terms of connect with people who are working in the organizations, try to understand what is happening, and try and find out if it is really prudent for you to join them in such a volatile situation. That is number one. Number two, as I said, you might have an offer or a letter of intent from a big brand, but a firm offer and a firm joining date with a lesser brand is any day more sensible than this huge brand employment which isn't even giving you a date of joining. I mean, I'm told there are cases where in companies like Infosys, Wipro and Cognizant Technologies, the date of joinings is as far away as 2 years from the day they hire you in the campus, and that clearly means that you're whiling away time just waiting or assuming that you are one day going to join this extraordinary employer brand. That is not happening. You would rather probably work in some smaller employer brand, gain some very good experience, and things like that. And this is where, if you have multiple employers coming to your campus, you need to really be very, very strong with your research. Don't get fascinated by this day one employment or day one hiring in the campus. If an organization like Infosys is going to hire you on day one, what is the point? Because after 6 months or 1 year, they might send you an offer letter with a date of joining, or they might say, we have issues, we probably will delay it further. And once you join them in a very, very delayed manner also, you probably will be thrown out in 3 or 4 months. And believe me, this will be the order of the day. It might look that this is a stray incident, but I foresee that such incidents will more and more happen in these IT services spaces, because that is where things are heading in terms of the advent of technology, advent of machine learning, advent of artificial intelligence and things like that. So I'm not sure if I've articulated the kind of lessons which we can learn in this, but the most important thing is if a big employer brand keeps delaying your date of joining and just plays around with letters of intents and plays around with big words and things like that, I think you need to be extremely careful, because it is your career. At stake is your career. Look at it this way. Today, nobody is going to care for the 600 employees, because these 600 employees who got thrown out from Infosys are going to clearly be judged on what is written in the CV and what is the chronology in the CV. And in the CV, in the resume, the chronology will be October 2024 to January 2025 Infosys. After that, I was sent out of Infosys. That is a real reason. And imagine if you graduated out in 2023 and your first job is in 2024 end, and just 6 months later you probably are out of the job. There is no way it is going to look good on your resume. So tremendous insights into how this job market operates for each one of us. Even if we are experienced, we very clearly can have an insight into understanding what is happening in the business, and the need for so much of research when we join any employer. It might be our first job, but it might be a third or fourth job. I think more importantly, every single employer, we should just, rather than just getting fascinated about the brand name and the so-called best employer brands, what we really need to do a lot in terms of our own spade work is to have so much of research about the organization, so much of research about the role, so much of research about the longevity of that particular role, and whether we be able to do justice to our own self and our own CV by joining such an organization. These are some wonderful lessons. As I said, employers will be ruthless. Employers don't care. Employers will give nice words of platitude, integrity, values for the public consumption in front of TV cameras. But when it comes to how they treat employees, I think this by and large is the kind of rule in the Indian job market, as I have seen it with many organizations. So be extremely cautious and beware of such situations and beware of such employers is what I would want to say. I just wanted to highlight these factors to you as to how things like these can really hit our career path, career growth, and even the primary look on our CVs. Thanks for your time. I'll see you soon with another interesting podcast. Thank you.